Okay, this is a video about ecology, and ecology is a study of the distribution and abundance of organisms, their interactions with other organisms, and their interactions with their physical environments. And in this video, we will be talking about two types of ecology. One is population ecology, and the other is community ecology. In population ecology, you study the growth, abundance, and distribution of a population. And a population is a group of individuals, all of the same species, living in the same area. So in this picture right here, you can see a bunch of seagulls living in the same area, and these living in a different area. And as humans, we're all living on Earth, and that is our population. Okay, key terms that you need to know to study population ecology. The size of a population is total number of individuals in a population. A density is total number of individuals per area or volume occupied. And dispersion describes how a population is distributed. It could be clumped, uniform, or random. In random dispersion, there's really no order in how the animals are placed. They're just there. In uniform, there's somewhat of an order, and in clump, they're just all together in one group in one area. An age structure is the description of individuals of a certain age, so it describes how a population is able to survive at a certain age. So if they die at a young age, or if they live longer, and all that. Okay, graphing populations, you have to use a survivorship curve. And there are 3 different types of a survivorship curve. Type 1 is related to humans. The organism has a lower death rate when they are born and through their life until they get older, where their death rate increases. And type 2, your death rate is at a constant throughout your whole life, like a squirrel. And type 3, your death rate is very high at a young age, but once you reach a certain age, you're more likely to survive, like an oyster. Okay, community ecology is the study of interactions between populations, and community means groups of populations living in the same area. So on this picture here, you can see a bunch of humans living in one area and using their resources. And in this other picture, you can see bison and bears and the rocks and plants living in all one area. And the same for this picture here, but it's a pond with hills and deer and frogs living in one area. Okay, types of interactions between organisms in a community, and one is called mutualism, and it's relationship in which both species benefit. Here's a bee and a flower, and they both benefit because the bee pollinates the flower, which helps it reproduce, and the bee is getting honey from the flower. And then here's a cartoon of a hippo and a bird, and the birds clean the hippo, and the hippo lets it like stay on it. Okay, mutualism is a relationship in which both species are benefiting. This bee is benefiting from this flower because it uses its pollen to make honey, and the flower is benefiting from the bee because it is pollinating the bee so it can reproduce. And this hippo in this picture right here is benefiting from the birds because it is cleaning the hippo, while the hippo lets the birds stay on him. Okay, commensalism. This is an interaction between two species where one species benefits while the second species is neither helped nor harmed. On this picture, you could see on the whale's tail that the barnacle are able to live on there, while the whale doesn't benefit at all from that relationship. It doesn't really help it, but it doesn't harm it either. And on the elephant, you can see a little bird on it, and the bird benefits from the relationship because it doesn't have to fly to get to the place they want to be. It just sits on the elephant, while the elephant can't really feel it, so it doesn't really mind. And then another relationship between organisms is called parasitism. The parasite benefits from the living arrangement while the host is harmed. These maggots are the parasite and the caterpillar is the host. And the maggots are feeding off of the caterpillar's body and it is harming it. And another example is between a mosquito and humans. They suck the blood from humans and that obviously harms them, but it feeds the mosquito. Okay. Energy flows through communities, and here's a food web, and it describes the interaction between each organisms. Food webs are usually messy because the arrows are pointing in many directions, and here's a food chain, and the arrows are more linear. They just go either to the right or the left. Okay, there are two different types of organisms in food chains and food webs, and one is called autotrophs, and they obtain energy from the light or inorganic materials. And these autotrophs are usually plants. And another is called heterotrophs, and heterotrophs must consume other organisms or organic materials for their source of energy. And one example of heterotroph is a cow. And here's a demonstration of how solar energy is consumed by both autotrophs and heterotrophs. Okay, through energy flow there are trophic levels, and the first trophic level is a primary producer, and they convert sun energy into chemical energy. And then there's a primary consumer, and they are usually herbivores, and they eat the primary producer. And then there are secondary consumers that eat the primary consumer, and they're usually carnivores. And then there are decomposers, and they obtain energy by consuming dead plants and animals. And they decompose all the energies and bring them back into the energy flow. Okay, trophic levels. We have the producers and the consumers.